you can see we got the tail shaft bushing in there, this piece right here. It looks okay, but since we're rebuilding this transmission, I'm going to go ahead and take that out. I've got a new one to put in there. And all I'm going to do is simply take this chisel right here, put it into the groove right there, and then I'll just hammer it until it splits and falls to the bottom. So now it's starting to slide. You can see that right there. And it should just come right out. And there it goes. Just like that. So you can see this is the new one. It's a little bit taller than the original. And check this out. Fomoco, right there. That's been in here since 1969. And like I said, it was good. I could have used it, but there was a little bit of wear right here along the edge from the yoke. So it's just best to go ahead and replace it. And this one is an ATP bushing. Part number is FB12, and that is for a C4 automatic transmission or a small shaft top loader. So that's what we're going to put in here. You can order these online. I got this from a local Fisher Auto Parts store that's near me. So I'd ordered so much stuff online, I just wanted to walk into a store and actually pick up something, even though I had to wait for it to get delivered. So anyway, with this new bush, we're gonna coat it with some WD to help it slide a little bit better. And you see I've got the opening right there. That's gonna situate itself right here in this oil galley right there. So I'm going to take a bearing and seal tool and just put it over top of the bushing like that and lightly tap it in.
Going down there nicely.
So it's almost seated. You can see right there, a little bit of a lip. We want to get that all the way down flush to that surface right there. All right, there we go. So that bushing is now installed. So now it'll be time for the seal that goes in the rear. All right. This is our output shaft seal, or tail shaft seal. It sits there. But before we install it, we need to pack this back with grease to ensure that the spring doesn't fall out. Just glob it on. Wipe off the excess from the edge right here. Like that. So you can see we've got our grease in it. Now we want to put just a light skim coat of RTV around it. We're just going to smear that.
Just want to make sure we don't have any leaking around the outside of this seal right here. You don't need a lot.
There we go. Just like that. Put the seal in. All right, so I don't have a socket big enough to sit on the flange of the seal right here. But what I do have is a lid to a jerry can. It's recessed, so it won't push down the seal right here, but it will contact the outer edge of the seal here. So let's give that a shot. This is called improvisation. Bingo, look at that. Worked like a charm. All right, so now we're gonna put the needle bearings in the reverse gear set. So what we're gonna do, get some grease. And just coat the inside of this. Like so. And then start setting the needle bearings in.
I think there's about 21 or 22 of these per side. I'm just using high temp wheel bearing grease right here. There we go.
There you go. Just like that. And we're just going to put a little bit more in there. Just like that. And then you've got these little retaining rings. And all that does is sit right down inside there. Just like that. Then you repeat the process for the other side. All right, so now it's time to put our new nylon washers in. And if you're disassembling a case, an original case, and yours had these brass ones, fret not, these are just as good. That's what the newer ones use. And there's only one way they can really go in. You've got this little notch right here, or this protrusion, and that will go right here, if you can see that on this side, and it'll go right here on that side. So we're just going to put some grease on them. just to keep them in place. Like that. Okay. And then we should be able to install our reverse gear assembly. That just slides right in. Actually, have your reverse gear, or your reverse gear shaft handy. Might be a tight fit. And you just push the shaft in. Probably have to help the washer on the other side line up. There we go. Okay. There you have it. Okay. So now we can install our shifter shafts. You got 3 of them. The long one is your reverse. The 2 shorter ones are your 1, 2, and your 3, 4. I had a damaged one, so I had to order that as well from David Key. You can see right there, he stamps his initials into the shafts. But before we install these, we need to put the O-rings on them. So first, I'm just going to put a little bit of oil. This is gear oil. Everyone put anything in dry. There we go. And just give them a little rub down. Like that. Coat the shaft. And now we can install it. Looking good. Now let's do our reverse shaft. A little bit of oil. Fingers are all slippery now. There we go. Coat the shaft. Like that. This one points down. Be careful when you're installing these. Don't just jam them in there. You don't want to damage the O-ring. Or drop it. They're pretty sturdy little O-rings. There we go. Just like that. All right. All right, so in order to get our reverse shift rail right here installed, we've got to first install the detents and spring. So I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on this, just so it's not dry. I'm gonna stick it down in here. I think it made it. This is the most frustrating part, I find. Looks like it went down all the way. So then we're gonna take one of our detents, these little guys right here, and drop it down. Let's hope it makes it. If not, this is gonna suck. And it did not. All right. So now we gotta fish around. Yep. That we are. Okay. So now we can take our reverse shaft here. Let's put a little bit of oil on it. Now I already pre-fitted these rails to make sure that all the passages were free and clear, and that I didn't need to deburr anything. And in fact, I did have to deburr the 3/4 hole. And take our shift fork. Just slide it in. Okay. So with these new springs, they are awfully tight. There we go. And then we can slide our shift fork over. And tighten the set screw. There we go. And that's that. Now we can move on. All right, so now we're going to take our second detent. We're going to drop it down. This will be for the 3/4. Where's my screwdriver? We're going to try to guide it on in. Well, maybe. So now it's in. And it's dropped. Okay, so I just installed the 3/4 reverse detent plug, and now we need to prep the counter shaft to go into the case. So like with the reverse shaft, we need to install these needle bearings. So same way we did it, dab of grease, put it on the inside, fill it up till you can't put any more in, and then you put the washers, retaining washers, over top of them, and that's it. All right, so now that we've got those installed, we can get our case back up here. And don't be worried about the leftover needle bearings. They give you an extra one. So don't fret, don't think you're missing any. All right, so let's grab the case. And like with the reverse gear set, They give you nylon washers. Same thing, we're going to put a little bit of grease on just to keep them in place.
Does it really only go in one way?
Now we can set our counter shaft in. But when we do this, we're not going to put the counter shaft in. We want this loose. We want this thing sitting as low as possible in the case. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get in, but it'll go. Fear not. And the washers are always going to fall out of place. I mean, there's no way around it. All right, so now that we've got the counter shaft in the case, we can move on to putting together our main shaft. So with that, we can start with our synchros. And all you want to do here is just put some grease on them to keep them in place. Put them right in there.
Like that.
Okay. And then we can take our springs here, slide them in like that. And take note of where the hump is. So we're on that key right there. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Maybe. My fingers will work. There we go. Like that. So now it won't slide out. So let's do the other one. Same thing.
Grease them up. Drop them in place. Put your springs. There we go. Take note of where the hump is. Mine's right here.
Like that. Now, that synchro is done. Okay, so now we're going to take our 1-2 synchro, and I've pre-oiled this main shaft just to make this a little bit easier, because if you don't, it'll be really tight. Kind of like they are right now. There we go. And then take our snap ring, install that. And now we're going to do our 1-2 gear. Put just a little bit of oil on here. And right here. Now my synchros were in pretty good shape, so I didn't need to replace those. Plus my kit didn't come with them. But I knew that going in, that these were okay. Okay. Slide the 1-2 gear on. Like that. Take our second snap ring. There's one thing I hate, it's snap rings. So finicky. All right, so let me back up here. The 1-2 synchro I installed backwards, so I took it off and installed it. This is the correct orientation. After that, I put the second gear on and installed the tanged washer and the snap ring. So now I'm ready for the third gear. I've already greased the surface here, so that should slide on nice and easy. It does, and it feels like butter. So now I can move on to the 3-4 synchros. All right, so now I'm going to put the 3-4 synchronizer on. The machine surface, the wider machine surface, goes towards the back of the main shaft. Slide that in, make sure it locks. It does. We take our snap ring, go. All right, so now I'm going to put the first gear on. I'm gonna a little bit of lube on my synchro here. That. A little bit on the outside too. Let's caught the keys, locked in place. Well, it was. Go. Put the first gear on. There we go. Feels pretty good. All right, so now first gear is on. You can see it's got the oil groove right there. So I'm going to take the bearing washer, or the first gear washer, and put it on with its oil groove facing the back. Wow, this thing's tight. Like that. That way, oil can get to the bearing that sits right here. Now I'm gonna take the idea from 5-speed shop and use a zip tie. It's probably not gonna work so well, but might keep everything together for a little bit. At least until I can get it in the case. And that's it. That's the main shaft assembled. All right, so now I'm working on the input shaft here, and I just took my heat gun and heated up the inner race on this bearing and dropped it on, and it worked amazingly. I think I got it up to almost 200 degrees with the heat gun, so that's good. Now I just need to install the snap ring without burning myself. There we go. Now we're just going to set this off to the side, let it cool down, because I definitely don't want to burn myself.
Two hours later.
Okay, so the bearing has cooled down enough. Look at that, can't even hear it. Sounds good. All right, so now we're gonna put the needle bearings into this. So same as before, grease it up. Then install.
It's kind of the boring part, yet oddly satisfying. Don't know why. Maybe it's the uniformity of it. We got room for one more. There we go. Back in a little bit. Yeah.
Looks good. Check that out. All right, let's put it on the main shaft and see how it works. All right, so put some oil on here. Make sure it locks with the pins. It does. Put a little oil on this. Feels pretty good. Okay, that's the completed main shaft. almost. Mostly complete.